What if I told you that the only thing standing between you and the life you want is not talent, not luck, not connections, but something so simple that most people ignore it every single day? Stay with me, because this might challenge the way you've been thinking. Right now, there are two versions of your future being created. Not tomorrow, not someday. Right now, one version is built on excuses, delays, and waiting for the right moment. The other is built on small, consistent actions that don't feel exciting, don't look impressive, and don't get attention, but they work. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people choose the first one without even realizing it. They tell themselves, I'll start when I feel ready. I'll go all in when I have more time. I'll be consistent when life calms down. But life doesn't calm down. Time doesn't magically appear. And that feeling of being ready, it rarely comes. So days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into months. And before they know it, they're in the same place with the same goals, the same ideas, but no real progress. Now here's the part most people don't want to hear. You don't need more motivation. You don't need another plan. You don't need to wait for some big breakthrough moment. What you need is something much simpler and much harder at the same time. You need consistency, but not the kind you're thinking about. Not the I'll go hard for a week and then disappear type. Not the I'm all in when I feel good type. I'm talking about the kind of consistency that shows up when you're tired, when you're bored, when nothing feels like it's working, when nobody is watching and nobody cares, because that's where everything changes. Let me ask you something, How many times have you started something with full energy, full excitement, telling yourself, this is it. This time I'm not quitting. And for a few days, maybe even a few weeks, you were locked in. But then something happened. You got tired. You lost focus. Didn't see results fast enough. And slowly you stopped. Not because you couldn't do it, but because you couldn't stay consistent. That's the gap. That's the difference between people who talk about success and people who actually live it. And if you don't fix that, nothing else matters. Most people wait to feel ready before they take action. They wait for that spark, that burst of energy, that emotional high that makes everything seem possible. And yes, motivation feels powerful in the moment. It can get you started. It can push you through a tough day. But here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Motivation is unreliable. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings change. One day you wake up energized, ready to conquer the world. The next day you feel tired, distracted, maybe even discouraged. If your progress depends on how you feel, then your progress will always be inconsistent. That's why so many people start strong and then disappear. They weren't lacking ability, they were relying on emotion instead of structure. Consistency, on the other hand, doesn't care how you feel. Consistency is built on habits, and habits are powerful because they remove the need for constant decision making. When something becomes a habit, it becomes automatic. You don't debate whether to do it, you just do it. That's the shift from do I feel like it to this is what I do. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't wake up every morning asking yourself if you're motivated to do it. You don't need inspiration. You do it because it's a habit, something that's part of your identity and routine. Now imagine applying that same mindset to your goals. When you rely on motivation, you're constantly negotiating with yourself. I'll start tomorrow. I'll do it when I feel better. I'm just not in the mood today. But when you rely on consistency, there's no negotiation. There's only action. This is what separates people who dream from people who achieve. Achievers don't wait for the perfect mood. They create a system that keeps them moving forward regardless of how they feel. Another key reason consistency beats motivation is because progress is not always visible right away. Motivation thrives on quick wins. It feeds off excitement and immediate results. But real growth, whether it's in fitness, business, learning, or personal development, takes time. You might work hard for days, weeks, even months without seeing major results. During that time, motivation will fade because it's not being rewarded. If you're only driven by motivation, this is where you quit. But consistency keeps you going even when results are delayed. It's like planting a seed. You don't water it once and expect a tree the next day. You water it daily, even when you see nothing happening above the ground. Why? Because you trust the process. You understand that growth is happening beneath the surface. That's exactly how consistency works. Every small action you take might seem insignificant on its own. One workout won't transform your body. One day of studying won't make you an expert. One effort won't build success. But when those small actions are repeated over time, they compound into something powerful. Consistency turns small efforts into big outcomes. There's also a psychological shift that happens when you become consistent. You start to build trust with yourself. Every time you show up and follow through, you reinforce the belief that you are reliable, disciplined, and capable. But every time you rely on motivation and give into excuses, you weaken that trust. Over time, this either builds confidence or destroys it. Consistency says, I do what I said I would do, even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when nobody is watching. And that identity becomes your strength. Another important point is that habits reduce friction. When something is new, it requires effort, focus, and energy. But the more you repeat it, the easier it becomes. What once felt difficult starts to feel normal. At first, waking up early might feel like a struggle. At first, working out might feel exhausting. At first, focusing on your goals might feel overwhelming. But with consistency, these actions become part of your routine. They stop feeling like a burden and start feeling like a standard. That's when real transformation happens, not when something is hard, but when it becomes who you are. It's also worth understanding that motivation often comes after action, not before it. Many people think they need to feel motivated to begin, but in reality, taking action creates momentum, and momentum creates motivation. Once you start, it becomes easier to continue. But if you wait for motivation to strike before you begin, you might be waiting forever. Consistency breaks that cycle. It says, start anyway, even if it's messy, even if it's imperfect, even if you don't feel ready, because action leads to progress, and progress fuels motivation, not the other way around. There's also a discipline component here. Discipline is what allows you to stay consistent when motivation disappears. It's the ability to do what needs to be done, regardless of your emotional state. And discipline is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. At the beginning, it might feel difficult to push through resistance. But over time, it becomes easier because you've trained yourself to act instead of hesitate. That's why consistency isn't just about results, it's about growth. You're not just building success, you're building character. You're becoming someone who follows through, someone who shows up, someone who doesn't quit when things get tough. And that version of you is unstoppable. In the end, motivation is a spark, but consistency is the engine. Motivation might get you started, but it won't carry you to the finish line. It's too unstable, too dependent on circumstances, too tied to emotion. Consistency, however, is steady. It is reliable. It's controlled by you. And when you commit to consistency, you take control of your progress. You stop waiting. You stop guessing. You stop depending on how you feel. You simply do the work day after day, step by step. Because success isn't about doing something great once. It's about doing the right things repeatedly. So don't chase motivation. It will come and go. Build habits, build systems, build consistency. Because feelings fade, but habits shape your life. It sounds simple, almost too simple. Do a little every day, and eventually you'll achieve something big. But most people underestimate just how powerful small actions really are. They overlook them because they don't feel significant in the moment. They don't feel like they're changing anything. And that's exactly why so many people never reach their full potential. They ignore the power of the small. We live in a world that celebrates big wins, overnight success, massive transformations, viral moment. People want dramatic change and they want it fast, but real success doesn't usually happen like that. It's not one giant leap, it's thousands of small steps taken consistently over time. Think of it like this. If you improve just 1% every day, those improvements compound. At first, you won't notice much difference. Day one looks like day two. Week one looks like week two. But give it time, months, years, and that small daily effort turns into something massive. That's the hidden power of most people. Never stick around long enough to see. Small actions matter because they build momentum. When you take a step forward, no matter how small, you create progress. And progress builds confidence. Confidence makes it easier to take the next step. Before you know it, you're moving faster, stronger, more focused, not because you made a huge change overnight, but because you kept showing up in small ways. The problem is, people often dismiss small efforts because they don't give immediate results. Doing one workout doesn't make you fit. Reading a few pages doesn't make you an expert. Saving a small amount of money doesn't make you wealthy. So people think, what's the point? But that thinking is exactly what holds them back. The point isn't what happens today. The point is what happens when today's action is repeated hundreds of times. Let's take fitness as an example. Imagine two people. One person works out intensely for a week and then quits. The other person works out for 20 to 30 minutes every day for a year. Who do you think will see better results? It's not even close. The second person didn't rely on intensity, they relied on consistency. And their small daily actions added up to a transformation. This principle applies to every area of life. If you want to learn a skill, you don't need to master it in a day. You just need to practice regularly. If you want to build a business, you don't need a perfect plan. You need consistent effort. If you want to improve your mindset, don't need a complete overhaul overnight. You need small, repeated shifts in how you think and act. Over time, those small changes shape who you become. Another reason small actions are so powerful is that they are manageable. Big goals can feel overwhelming. When you think about everything you need to do to succeed, it can feel impossible. That's when procrastination kicks in. That's when you freeze. But small actions remove that pressure. Instead of thinking, I need to change my entire life, you think, what can I do today? Instead of trying to do everything at once, you focus on doing something consistently. And that's how progress becomes sustainable. Small actions are also easier to repeat, and repetition is what creates habits. When something is easy to do, you're more likely to keep doing it. And when you repeat it enough times, it becomes automatic. That's when it stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like part of your routine. You don't have to force yourself. Anyone else, you just follow the pattern you've built. There's also something important to understand about growth. It's not always linear. At the beginning, your efforts might not seem to produce results. It might feel like you're putting in work for nothing, but that doesn't mean nothing is happening. Growth is often delayed. It builds quietly beneath the surface before it becomes visible. Just like an iceberg, most of it is hidden, but it's still there, growing. This is where patience becomes critical. Most people quit during this phase. They stop because they don't see progress. They think their small actions aren't working. But if they had just stayed consistent a little longer, they would have seen the breakthrough. That's the difference between those who succeed and those who don't. The willingness to keep going when the results aren't obvious yet. Small actions also shape your identity. Every time you take a positive step, even a small one, you're reinforcing the type of person you want to become. If you write a little every day, you start to see yourself as a writer. If you train consistently, you start to see yourself as disciplined. If you keep learning, you start to see yourself as someone who grows. And identity is powerful because it influences your behavior. When you believe this is who I am, you naturally act in alignment with that belief. So those small actions aren't just building results, they're building you. Another key idea is that small actions reduce the fear of failure. When you aim for huge, immediate results, the pressure is high. You feel like everything has to be perfect. And that fear can stop you from even starting. But when the focus is on small daily progress, the stakes are lower. You're not trying to be perfect, you're just trying to improve. That mindset makes it easier to take action, learn from mistakes, and keep moving forward. And over time, those small steps lead to something bigger than you imagine. It's also worth noting that negative habits work the same way, but in the opposite direction. Just as small positive actions can build success, small negative actions can lead to failure. Skipping one day doesn't seem like a big deal. Procrastinating once doesn't seem harmful. Making one poor decision doesn't feel significant. But when those actions are repeated, they compound too. That's why being intentional about your daily actions is so important. Because what you do consistently, good or bad, shapes your future. In the end, the biggest mistake people make is waiting for the right time to make a big change. But there is no perfect moment. There's only today. And what you do today, no matter how small, matters more than you think. So don't underestimate the power of a single step. Don't overlook the value of a small effort. Don't wait for massive change to start. Start small. Stay consistent. Trust the process. Because those small daily actions, they're not small at all. They're the foundation of everything great you'll ever build. Most people misunderstand discipline. They think it's about being strict, rigid, or forcing yourself into a life with no enjoyment. But real discipline isn't about punishments, it's about control. It's about being in charge of your actions instead of letting your emotions decide your direction. Because the truth is simple. There will be many days when you don't feel like it. You won't feel like waking up early. You won't feel like working on your goals. You won't feel like pushing yourself when things get hard. And if your success depends on how you feel in those moments, then your success will always be inconsistent. That's where discipline comes in. Discipline is the ability to act regardless of your mood. It's choosing what matters most over what feels good in the moment. It's saying, I don't feel like doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway. And that right there is the difference between average and exceptional. Feelings are temporary. They change constantly based on your environment, your energy, your circumstances. One bad night of sleep, one negative experience, one moment of downtime, your motivation disappears. But your goals don't disappear. Your responsibilities don't disappear. Your potential doesn't disappear. So if you rely on motivation, you'll only show up when it's easy, when it's convenient, when everything feels right. But discipline shows up no matter what. It shows up on the hard days, on the slow days, on the days when nothing seems to be working. And those are the days that matter the most. Anyone can work hard when they feel inspired. Anyone can give effort when they're excited. But not everyone can push through discomfort, boredom, or resistance. That's what separates people who start from people who finish. Discipline is what carries you through the moments where quitting feels easier than continuing. Let's be real, doing what you need to do isn't always enjoyable. Sometimes it's repetitive. Sometimes it is exhausted. Sometimes it feels like you're putting in effort without seeing results. That's when your mind starts negotiating. I'll do it later. I deserve a break. That one day won't hurt. And while those thoughts might seem harmless, they slowly build a pattern of avoidance, a pattern of delay, a pattern of choosing comfort over progress. Discipline breaks that pattern. It doesn't allow excuses to take control. It doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It creates a standard. This is what I do, no matter how I feel. That kind of mindset changes everything. Because once you stop negotiating with yourself, you remove the constant back and forth that drains your energy. You stop wasting time deciding whether to act, and you simply act. That's powerful. Another important thing to understand is that discipline is not something you're born with, it's something you build. Just like a muscle, it gets stronger with use. At first, it might feel difficult to push yourself when you don't feel like it. You might resist, you might struggle. But every time you follow through, despite that resistance, you strengthen your discipline. You prove to yourself that you're capable of doing hard things. And over time, what once felt difficult starts to feel normal. That's when discipline becomes part of your identity. You're no longer someone who depends on motivation. You're someone who shows up no matter what. And that identity creates confidence, because confidence doesn't come from thinking you're capable. It comes from knowing you can rely on yourself. It comes from evidence, from repeated actions that show you that you don't quit when things get uncomfortable. Discipline also helps you build momentum. Even on days when you don't feel like doing much, taking action, even small action, keeps you moving forward. It prevents you from falling into a cycle of inactivity, because the longer you stay inactive, the harder it becomes to start again. Discipline keeps that from happening. It keeps you in motion, and motion creates progress. Another key aspect of discipline is delayed gratification. It's the ability to give up something good now for something better later. Choosing to work on your goals instead of wasting time. Choosing to stay focused instead of giving in to distractions. Choosing growth over comfort. These decisions might not feel rewarding in the moment, but they pay off over time. That's the trade-off. Short-term discomfort for long-term success. Most people choose the opposite. They chase comfort now and end up with regret later. But disciplined individuals understand that what feels hard today often leads to a better tomorrow. It's also important to recognize that discipline doesn't mean being perfect. You're going to have off days. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fall short sometimes. But discipline is about getting back on track quickly. It's about not letting one bad day turn into a bad week, not letting one mistake turn into a habit. It's about consistency over perfection. Even when you don't feel like giving 100%, discipline says, give something, because something is always better than nothing. And those small efforts keep your progress alive. There's also a deeper level to discipline. It shapes your character. When you consistently do what you said you would do, you build integrity with yourself. You become someone who follows through, someone who doesn't quit when things get uncomfortable. That kind of character doesn't just help you reach your goals, it changes how you approach everything in life. You become more focused, more resilient, more dependable, and those qualities open doors. In the end, discipline is what bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not even motivation. It's the daily decision to keep going, even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when you don't feel like it. Because those moments when you choose action over emotion are the moments that define your future. So don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait to feel motivated. Act anyway. Because discipline isn't about how you feel, it's about what you do despite how you feel. And if you can master that, there's nothing that can stop you. Success is often imagined as something exciting, dramatic, and full of recognition. People picture big moments, celebrations, achievements, milestones where everything finally pays off. But what most don't see, and what many don't want to accept, is that success is actually built in the quiet, repetitive, and often boring work that happens long before any recognition shows up. The truth is, greatness is not created in the spotlight. It's created in the shadows. It's built in the early mornings when no one is watching. In the late nights when you're tired, but you keep going anyway. In the moments where nothing feels exciting, yet you still choose to show up and do the work. That's where the real foundation is laid. The problem is that most people are addicted to excitement. They want progress to feel good all the time. They want every step to be motivating, inspiring, and rewarding. But the reality is that the journey to success includes long stretches of repetition, monotony, and effort that doesn't immediately pay off. And that's where many people quit. Not because the goal is impossible, but because the process isn't entertaining. Doing the same thing over and over again can feel frustrating. It can feel like you're stuck, like you're not moving forward. But just because something feels repetitive doesn't mean it's not working. In fact, repetition is exactly what creates mastery. Think about any skill, whether it's writing, speaking, training, or building something meaningful. Nobody becomes great by doing something once or twice. They become great by doing it hundreds, even thousands of times. Each repetition may seem small, but it adds up. Every time you practice, you improve a little. Every time you show up, you get a little better. But those improvements are often too small to notice in the moment. That's why it feels like nothing is happening, but something is happening. You're building skill. You're building discipline. You're building endurance. And all of that is happening quietly, beneath the surface. This is what makes the boring work so important. It's not flashy. It doesn't get attention, but it's where real growth happens. The exciting moments, the wins, the recognition, the breakthroughs are just the result of all that unseen effort. Another reason this kind of work is difficult is because it requires patience. There's no instant reward, no immediate validation. You're putting in effort without knowing exactly when you'll see the results. And that uncertainty can be uncomfortable. You might question yourself. You might wonder if it's worth it. You might feel like giving up because the progress isn't obvious yet. But that's part of the process. Success doesn't reward you for what you do occasionally. It rewards you for what you do consistently, even when it feels like it's not making a difference. And the only way to stay consistent through that phase is to accept that not every part of the journey will be exciting. Sometimes it's just work. Simple, repetitive, disciplined work. The kind of work that doesn't get applause. But that's exactly what separates those who succeed from those who don't. Most people are willing to work hard when it's new, when it's fresh, when it feels exciting. But very few are willing to keep going when that excitement fades. Very few are willing to embrace the routine, to show up and do the same thing again and again. Not because they feel like it, but because they understand that it matters. That's where real commitment shows. It's easy to start something. It's much harder to continue when it becomes repetitive. But that repetition is what builds strength. It's like training your mind and your body to operate at a higher level. The more you repeat the right actions, the more natural they become. The more control you gain over your performance. Eventually, what once felt difficult becomes standard. That's when you know you're growing. There's also something important about working without recognition. When nobody is watching, when nobody is praising you, your reasons for continuing become very clear. You're not doing it for attention. You're not doing it for validation. You're doing it because you committed to becoming better. That kind of mindset is powerful because it's not dependent on external factors. It comes from within. And when your drive comes from within, it's much harder to break. You don't need someone to push you. You don't need constant motivation. You build a system where showing up is part of who you are. And that's what makes your progress sustainable. Another key point is that the boring work is often where mistakes happen and where learning happens. When you're repeating something over and over, you start to notice details. You start to refine your approach. You start to improve in ways that wouldn't be possible if you were only chasing exciting moments. That's how you go from average to excellent. Not through occasional bursts of effort, but through steady refinement over time. And while it may not feel exciting, it builds a level of skill and confidence that can't be faked. Because when the moment finally comes, the opportunity, the challenge, the stage, you're ready. Not because you got lucky, but because you prepared. Through all those quiet, repetitive hours that nobody saw. In the end, the work that feels boring is often the work that matters most. It's the foundation. It's the structure. It's the reason success becomes possible. So instead of avoiding it, you have to learn to embrace it. Understand that not every step will feel rewarding. Not every day will feel exciting. But every day you show up, you're building something. And one day, all that invisible effort becomes visible. All that repetition turns into results. And people will look at you and see success. But what they won't see is the truth behind it, that it was built piece by piece in the moments that felt the least exciting but mattered the most. One of the biggest traps people fall into is believing that they need to be perfect before they can succeed. They think they need the perfect plan, the perfect mindset, the perfect timing, or the perfect version of themselves before they take action. But that belief doesn't move them forward, that keeps them stuck. Perfection is an illusion. It's a moving target that keeps shifting the more you chase it. No matter how much you prepare, you will never feel completely ready. There will always be something you think you could improve, something you feel unsure about, something that isn't exactly right. And if you wait until everything is perfect, you will be waiting forever. What matters is not perfection, it's presence. Being present means showing up. It means taking action, even when things are messy, uncertain, or incomplete. It means deciding that progress is more important than getting everything exactly right. Because the truth is, nothing starts perfect. Every expert was once a beginner. Every successful person started with imperfect steps, mistakes, and uncertainty. The difference is they didn't let imperfection stop them. They moved forward anyway. Perfection creates pressure. It makes you feel like every move has to be flawless, like every step has to lead to immediate success. And that kind of pressure often leads to hesitation, overthinking, and eventually inaction. You start second guessing yourself. You start delaying your progress. You start avoiding opportunities because you don't feel ready. And all of that slows you down more than any mistake ever could. On the other hand, showing up consistently removes that pressure. It shifts your focus from doing it perfectly to doing it regularly. And that shift changes everything. When your goal is simply to show up, you give yourself permission to be imperfect. You allow yourself to learn as you go. You accept that mistakes are part of the process, not something to be avoided at all costs. That mindset makes it easier to take action. And action is what creates progress. There's something powerful about repetition, even when it's imperfect. Every time you show up, you gain experience. You learn what works and what doesn't. You adjust, improve, and refine your approach. But if you don't show up at all, you don't learn anything. Waiting for perfection often means missing opportunities to grow. You don't need to have everything figured out to begin. In fact, most of the clarity you're looking for comes after you start, not before. You figure things out by doing. You improve by practicing. You gain confidence by taking action. You develop skill by making mistakes and correcting them. None of that happens if you stay stuck in preparation mode. Another important aspect of this idea is that consistency builds momentum, even when the effort isn't perfect. Small, imperfect actions done repeatedly will always outperform occasional perfect efforts. Doing something consistently, even at 70% effort, creates progress. Doing something perfectly once and then stopping does not. That's why showing up matters more than being flawless. It keeps you in motion. And motion is what separates those who grow from those who stay stuck. There's also a mental shift that happens when you stop chasing perfection. You become less afraid of failure. You start to see mistakes as part of the process rather than something that defines you. That freedom allows you to take more risks, try new approaches, and push yourself further. Because you're no longer trying to protect a perfect image, you're trying to improve. And improvement requires imperfection. Think about it this way. If you never make mistakes, it probably means you're not challenging yourself. It probably means you're staying in your comfort zone, doing only what you already know how to do. But growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens when you stretch beyond your current abilities, and that process is never perfect. There will be setbacks. There will be moments where things don't go as planned. There will be times where your effort doesn't produce the results you expected. But those moments are not failures, they are feedback. They show you what needs to change. They help you become better. And that only happens if you keep showing up. Another reason perfection is limiting is because it focuses too much on the outcome and not enough on the process. When you're obsessed with getting everything right, you lose sight of the value of the journey. But the journey is where everything happens. It's where you build habits. It's where you develop discipline. It's where you grow into the person capable of achieving your goals. And that growth requires consistency, not perfection. Showing up, even on the days when you feel off, keeps that process alive. It reinforces your commitment. It builds a pattern of reliability. You become someone who follows through. And that identity is more powerful than any single perfect performance. It's also important to understand that no one sees your journey as perfectly as you do. What feels imperfect to you might still be valuable to others. Wow. Feels like a small step to you might be a big achievement from another perspective. If you wait until everything is flawless before you share your work, your ideas, or your effort, then you will be able to share your work, your ideas, or your effort with others. You might be holding back something that could already make an impact. Perfection delays contribution. Consistency creates it. At the end of the day, success is not about having perfect days. It's about having enough consistent days. Days where you showed up. Days where you tried. Days where you moved forward, even if it wasn't perfect. Those days add up. They build momentum. They create progress. They shape your future. So instead of asking yourself, is this perfect? Ask yourself, did I show up? Because showing up is what keeps you in the game. And as long as you're in the game, you have the chance to improve, to grow, and to succeed. Perfection might look appealing, but it doesn't move you forward. Showing up does. Every time. At the end of the day, this isn't about hype, and it's not about feeling good. For a moment, it's about who you become when nobody is watching. Because anybody can start strong. Anybody can be excited in the beginning. But not everybody can stay consistent when it gets hard, when it gets repetitive, when it feels like nothing is changing. That's the moment that defines everything. Right now, you have a choice. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. You can go back to your old habits, waiting for motivation, waiting for the perfect time, waiting until you feel ready. Or you can decide that today is the day you stop waiting and start showing up. Not perfectly, not all at once, but consistently. Because the truth is, your future is not built on what you do once in a while. It's built on what you do every single day. The small decisions, the quiet moments, the times when you choose discipline over comfort, action over excuses, growth over fear. And listen carefully, this is where most people fall off. They hear messages like this, they feel fired up, they say this. Time is different, but when the feeling fades, they go right back to the same patterns. Don't let that be you. Don't let this just be another video you watched, another speech you heard, another moment that passed. Let this be the moment you actually change something. Start small, but start today. Show up when you don't feel like it. Put in the work when it's boring. Keep going when it feels slow. Because every time you do that, you're building something bigger than you can see right now. You're building discipline. You're building strength. You're building a version of yourself that doesn't quit. And that version of you, that's the one that wins. It won't happen overnight. It won't be easy. There will be days when you struggle, days when you doubt yourself, days when you feel like giving up. But those are the days that matter the most. Because every time you push through, you prove something to yourself. You prove that you're not controlled by your feelings. You prove that you can keep going. You prove that you're serious about your life. And eventually, those small, consistent actions will turn into something undeniable. Results, progress, growth. So when this video ends, don't just move on. Don't just scroll away. Take one step. Just one. Because that one step, repeated every day, is what separates the life you have from the life you want. Stay consistent. Keep showing up and watch how everything changes. You can have the best ideas, the biggest dreams, the strongest intentions, but without consistency, they don't go anywhere. So here's what I need you to do right now. Don't just listen to this. Don't just let it play in the background. Lean in. Because what you're about to hear is not just motivation. It's a shift, a way of thinking that can completely change how you approach your goals, your habits, and your life. If you've ever felt stuck, if you've ever started and stopped, if you've ever doubted whether you have what it takes, then this is for you. And by the end of this, you're going to understand one thing clearly. It's not about doing more. It's not about being perfect. It's about showing up again and again until quitting is no longer an option.